let's talk about line value. If you bet the Bengals early on when the Chiefs open -3, even at -1, not as much line value. And this is the point I want to talk about here. In this rematch of the AFC title game, the first rematch of an AFC Championship game since the Ravens and the Patriots repeated in 2011 and 2012. In that matchup, the Patriots got the best of the Ravens in 2011. The Ravens got the best of the Patriots in 2012. The Chiefs are hoping a similar fate is in store here, where they can get the draw here and even the score at 1-1, and in fact to be 1-3 because the Bengals have also won 2 regular season matchups in this series in the last 3 as well. These people that are on Twitter, man, and they're people that I respect, but they're like, oh, this line movement makes me believe that Mahomes isn't playing. Folks, when the spread was -1, basically the implication, if you looked at like BetStamp or any odds aggregator, was that the Chiefs were about 52% to win. The worst it ever got after that, and it's come back a little bit, is Chiefs, basically what, 44% chance to win. If you looked at, the odds aggregators like BetStamp and stuff, they're currently 46. So you're looking at a 6% change. Ben, that's less of a change in basically cover probability than going from 2.5 to 3.5, right? People, I think, especially in a postseason game where 0 has no value, are way overestimating this move from Kansas City to Cincinnati. The most notable thing was that the Chiefs, the initial mark got off 3, but now that it's under 3, I think that this thing ping pongs back and forth. And in fact, you could, there's a part of me that believes that some of these groups are trying to head fake the market all the way out to Cincinnati -3 so that they can pile onto the Chiefs once limits become the biggest.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised of that move. Obviously, like these are the types of games where we see that movement, but it's interesting. I do think like the biggest part of this handicap is very much the effectiveness or whatever of Patrick Mahomes and how well he can actually play. And if you're kind of judging it based on a ceiling type outcome performance from him specifically, like the Chiefs should be pretty heavily favored. I know we're looking, at Pinnacle and everything else. PFF does have like a play-by-play simulation. And I was kind of trying to at least go back and forth as far as like, where would we be at with a fully healthy Patrick Mahomes? Where would we be at with like a top end performance from a guy like Chad Henne? And where would we be at with a, bottom 50% performance from a guy like Patrick Mahomes? So like if we were projecting this out based on our simulation perspective and we thought Patrick Mahomes was 100%, we would probably have this game closer to like a -4 spread for the Kansas City Chiefs, -3.5 maybe. But I think that's kind of reflective of where the market was at in opening. And I do think if there wasn't a Patrick Mahomes injury concern when this market actually opened up, like that's kind of where we would have probably initially been at. And then we would have seen whether, a ton of money would have flooded in early on the Bengals and pushed it down to 3 and then 2.5 or not. I'm not quite sure, but I have a really hard time seeing us get through 3 with a fully healthy Patrick Mahomes. Now the question is like, how much do you discount Kansas City if Patrick Mahomes isn't in the fold, right? And kind of using the basis of, top end Chad Henne, bottom half, like Patrick Mahomes, I think you kind of arrive right at this -1, -1.5 spread for the Cincinnati Bengals. And you kind of see, how things are going to play out through, once again, the first couple of plays, the first couple of drives. And I think you have to understand and maybe gauge where Patrick Mahomes is going to be from his, his ability to kind of navigate the pocket and his ability to extend plays with his legs to the point to actually get his receivers open downfield and give them time to actually create that separation. So I think like if you're playing something right now, like outside of the teasers that I'm sure everybody has kind of early on in the week, like I also kind of want to take a wait and see approach, but it's more based on, how is Mahomes moving in pregame and how is he moving in the first couple of drives before I'd really want to lock in one side. But if there's no qualms there, I think it's very much Chiefs or bust at that point in time from my perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And Jeffrey Benson of Circa said 4.5, 6.5 of Mahomes was absolutely healthy. I think that, again, this is a situation where, we're just not thinking, distributionally, probabilistically in the market. And, I think this is not the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is one, event where the public does have some say as to where the number moves. These are standalone games, so that there is a thing there. But the public doesn't have a big influence at all on betting markets. But I can't help but think of like all of the narratives around Cincinnati. Just remembering last week and forgetting that they have 4 losses this year. 3 of them were to backup quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky, Cooper Rush, and Jacoby Brissett all beat them this year. And in fact, if there's not a fumble return for a touchdown on a quarterback sneak from the 1-yard line, Tyler Huntley probably beats them in the divisional round. And so, not to say that Chad Henne could beat this or would be favored, but there's an aspect of I think overcompensating a lot of ways to get Cincinnati to this number right now, which is sitting at Pinnacle. Bengals -1, -112. Chiefs are +1 even money. It's -121 for the Bengals on the money line, +108 for the Chiefs. This has gone down a little bit since that Right Angle Sports release of the Chiefs +2.5. It never got to 2.5 on Pinnacle. I saw it get to 2, but we saw Cincinnati north of 130, like -134. So that has gone down 12 cents or so. So we have seen some resistance on the Chiefs. This number does not reflect that Mahomes is not going to play. There's just simply no way that that's the case. If Mahomes wasn't playing, the Bengals would be -4.5 or something like that. This is not reflected there. So this is kind of in no man's land. And frankly, where the limits are right now, and how many NFL games, especially playoff games, land one or two, I think that they're comfortable with this number right now. I'm like you. I think the Chiefs are probably the side here. I think all the other narratives are stupid, and there's not really a sound way that to argue the Bengals side here. The Chiefs, especially if Mahomes is anywhere close to 100%, the Chiefs should be favored, independent of what has happened the last 3 times in Cincinnati, and also in the AFC title game last year in Kansas City. So